So FaZe Clan, who I'm sure many of you have heard of, is a big esports team organization. They do pretty much every one of the like major competitive gaming. So I know they do Smash Brothers, they do CSGO, they do Halo, they do this. So a little while ago, they actually went public as the first one of this type of organization, as a corporation, to go public. So they were listed on the NASDAQ.
Which good for them.
Which good for, I mean,
you're treading new ground.
You're treading new ground.
Someone has to be the first. Right?
I kind of wish it wasn't you.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't FaZe Clan. Because there's a lot of cool people I think that could have done it. They raised a buttload of money. They did this, and then their stock started tanking. Down below $1 a share. It got down to as low as 40 cents a share.
Yeah, but right now it's sitting at 69.
It is at 69 cents a share today. So they got a letter from NASDAQ, who is one of the people that list these on the major exchanges. And So for those that don't know, if you're a stock, you want to be listed on one of the major exchanges. Dow, NYSE, NASDAQ, S&P, right? Like you want to be listed on the exchange. Because if you're not, you're a penny stock and you're not really, I mean, you're there, but nobody really cares about you.
It's kind of like being federally recognized versus just being a publicly founded company.
You're in there with the weed stocks.
Yeah.
You're in there with the weed stocks. Like, sorry, you're kind of screwed. Like, so NASDAQ has said, look, you've got, well, let me go back and get the exact dates. I think they've got 3 months to get the stock above $10 a share, or sorry, above $1 a share for more than 10 days in a row. Right?
How do you do that? Do you advertise more?
Yeah, there's no way to advertise more. You don't I mean, you could, but I don't think it's going to help us.
So why $1?
Because that's the minimum price to be listed on the NASDAQ.
Oh, well, there's a lot of...
right? Is it going to be $1 or a penny
They have
stock?
they have 180 days to get a stock price above $1 for at least 10 consecutive days. By the way, you've also got to do this without committing crimes, which is called a pump and dump.
Or insider trading.
And FaZe Clan has already been accused of a crypto pump and dump.
They've been accused of a lot of things.
They've been accused of
we don't need to cover all of that.
A lot of things. I think this is really interesting. So their valuation was super high initially out the gate. I think it was ridiculous. Most people did.
700 billion?
700. Well, no, that was what they ended up funding for. They funded out at $1 billion, which I think is, again, you're talking about major league sports status at that point. You're talking about baseball team.
Yeah.
You know, like Colorado Rockies.
Oh, Rockies.
I mean, it's not a major market. I mean, it's not like Yankees or, you know, the Dodgers or the Angels, but I mean, it's like the Rockies or the Mariners.
Where are you coming up with all these teams?
He's not at work. He's bored.
I
know. But they are ever present throughout the world. Like worldwide, if you know video games, you know FaZe Clan. Yes. But I mean, that doesn't necessarily translate to investments.
No. I wonder, because I haven't been part of the competitive gaming scene for quite a long time. Like after Overwatch started announcing their teams, that was pretty interesting, but I kind of just dipped out after that. FaZe Clan is...
They just won the Intel Grand Slam in CSGO. I mean, they're a major player in the competitive esports market, which is why we're talking about it. Because obviously, we do esports here.
Yeah.
Their market cap's down at 50 million. What really blew my mind, I was telling Pete this before the show, is like they put out a tweet like, we're working on getting everybody together at some point. And I'm like, dude, you just got a thing telling you NASDAQ's delisting you. You don't say we hope. You don't say we hope to get the OGs back together to get everything figured out. You say, by the way, we're having a meeting on this day. Why? Because if you're a corporation, you know what you do? You say, hey, clowns.
Right. Hey, stockholders, this is what we're planning on doing.
Not even stockholders. Hey, guys who own the company, like the player, like we're all getting together. FaZe Clan. Yeah. A few things interesting about this. One is that first off, they even managed to get listed on the NASDAQ. That's
pretty phenomenal.
That's pretty amazing.
It does break ground, right?
It does. And what I'm hoping is that somebody with a little more
sense.
Literally and like
figuratively.
Manages to get something similar. Although I don't know if being publicly traded is really the way you want to go. It's a fast way to raise money.
It It is.
It can be a fast way to raise money.
There are so many other ways to do it, though, especially in the gaming scene and especially with the competitive gaming scene. Like,
this kind of goes to the competitive gaming scene because the problem is, aside from FaZe Clan and NASDAQ, like, and I was talking to some of the guys from Bonus Round about this, which is the esports scene is big, but it doesn't have an identity.
No.
Right? Like,
it's kind of scattered.
Baseball, basketball, football. They're cultural, soccer, hockey. They also have, by the way, more organization.
Yes.
Okay? Criticize the NFL all you want, but the fact of the matter is that the owner, and what FaZe Clan needs is they need 5 other teams or 10 other teams that are at their level, and they need to get together, and then you know what they do?
Make a league.
They make a league. Like,
you mean like the Overwatch League?
But that's not even that. It can't be, and it can't be run by one of the video game companies. Like Epic Games, Valve, Microsoft, Sony. They can't be the ones seen running this league. Right?
Well, what they do is let's take Dota, the Invitational every year, right? They'll take these teams and have them compete, but they're, like you said, there's no one kind of. I'll take what kind of a wrestling thing. There's no one organizer for it.
Right.
These brands and these teams aren't under one league. They independently compete in cups against one another and have qualifier rounds.
Right.
And to also your point about, you know, MLB, the NFL, it's a cultural thing. It's also a North American thing. Whereas I think what FaZe and esports kind of has a problem with is it's a worldwide thing. And how do you come up with something that's going to be accepted worldwide?
You have to focus on multiple markets, and you can see that, but you can't focus on every market. You focus on key markets. And the way you could, the best analogy I would do with this would be baseball. Because baseball is massive in Japan.
That's true.
It's like a religion there.
So is wrestling.
Baseball is huge. So you can take these distinctly North American things and port them culturally to Japan, other countries, stuff like that.
This is actually a good point that somebody made in chat. Said they were run like soccer clubs. So we watched the Welcome to Wrexham or whatever it is on Hulu, where what's his name, Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, they bought a soccer club. So the way they have there is tiers, and you go up to Premier League.
Yep.
And then we have like the World Cup, we have like
which
the European
FIFA.
Cup. So I'm wondering if it doesn't already exist, do we get this thing where there is kind of a continental esports thing, or like an organization within a country that you have tiers of these teams and you battle to go up?
What you're talking about is FIFA.
Yeah. Do you do FIFA for esports?
You almost have to. And that's the thing is that, and again, it can't be this, but this is also why, and this actually goes back to the FaZe Clan thingy. Please note, FaZe Clan, like again, I kind of get where you're going. Do you know what NFL teams, MLB teams, and the other teams are not? They're not publicly traded. There's only one publicly traded, and they're not even traded. There is one publicly held NFL team. One. Right?
I have a question.
Yes.
So I know it is billed as esports, right? Mm-hmm. And so we are comparing it specifically to other sports. Mm-hmm. You were talking about tiered systems, with the soccer club thing. I kind of wonder if they pivoted and kind of did more like guild rankings along the lines of like adventurers guilds, right? Yeah. And kind of doubled down on that nerdier side, that they might gain more traction.
You can put whatever
moniker.
You can put whatever skin over it you want, and then you want to leave it in the gaming space. Right. Slap a skin on it. Call it whatever you want.
Right.
But what all of these organizations have
structure
that esports doesn't, specifically as a governing body.
Yeah.
Right? Like the owners of the NFL teams, while they get snippy about it, have said, look, we own the NFL teams. That's the league. We will abide. We empower the league, and we will abide by league decisions. Right? When the league makes a decision, we all agree that they're going to be the neutral arbitrator.
I wonder if they would get better at communication if they included more women in their esports league.
Probably. Again, I think that esports has a higher ceiling even than standard sports.
Absolutely.
I absolutely
it's
do.
the accessibility.
Right.
Well, whenever we were going through a few months ago and looking at, gaming as an industry is worth more than the cell phone industry, worth more than the movie industry.
Worth 5 times what music is.
Yeah,
worldwide.
worth 5 times what music is. Like, there's definitely room for that.
I know that in Denmark, they've been trying to get the esports union officially recognized the way the football org is.
Oh,
Again,
that's so
awesome.
cool.
you have to have a governing body. I don't really trust the Europeans to do it because they gave us FIFA.
Well, that was a rot from inside.
I'm just saying, I don't really trust the Europeans to do it because they gave us FIFA.
I mean, we have
Europe, maybe
NFL,
take a step
though.
back on this one. Glad everybody got that one. So maybe not the best way. Yeah, I mean, again, if I was advising these people, I'm like, look, you need to get you and like 5 or 6 of the other big ones and go, here's our governing body, this is how we're going to do it.
Yep.
Right.
Here are our core values. This
All
is what we're
the
doing.
revenue runs through here, and then we do profit sharing, and like there's a way to do it.
Yes.
Right? Which also would ensure, and then what you do is you form a union like the Players Union.
Yes.
Right?
Oh boy.
Or the NFLPA or the Major League Baseball Players
Gaming.
Association. Then you form a players union.
Yes.
And you negotiate in good faith, and you have contracts.
Oh, and then you could do brackets and have
So-
your fantasy video game.
Don't do FIFA. Don't do NCAA.
Part of this issue is the career span for esports players is really short. Like Siegel, I think he retired from Overwatch at 22.
And that's why they need a union.
With arthritis.
But the thing is, like, my point being, like, you'll run into issues where a lot of them, they're just happy to be here. Give them $20 and a jar of pickles. They're like, yeah, I'll play CSGO for a job. But then, like, how do you convince the older players who then become union stewards or representatives? And who organizes this, I guess? Not that we're going to figure it out.
I think what you do is you have some of the ones who are like either freshly retired or on the older side of the esports competitor thing. They're the ones that are organizing it. They're the ones that are acting as the stewards. So at each, again, I'll use the NFL because it's the one I'm most familiar with, and I think it's a structure that probably would work for esports, is each team has one or more player representatives on the team. Right? And they're the player representative for the union. Now, when it comes to big contract stuff, everybody who's a member of the union gets a vote. But when it comes to negotiating and discussing and trying to like do this, it's one per team, right? You are the player rep, right? And you do something similar. And again, it's probably going to be, and most of the time the player reps on NFL teams are not rookies, right?
No, they usually retire to become player reps.
Well, no, I mean, it has to be an active player if they're on the team.
Oh, okay.
So, but it'll be one of the older players. It will be somebody who's been on the team for some time and who has experience, and they will be the player rep. And then I think a structure like the MLB or like the NFL or the NHL, I'm not super clear on the MLS and how they're structured. Esports, FaZe Clan, it's not about you going public. If you want to be seen as serious by the rest of the world,
Nah.
again, it's, and this is what, and actually,
You have to get serious
you've
about
talked
it.
to a lot of these people,
Yeah.
and I'd be curious what your impression is. My biggest thing, and I love the esports crowd, and I love the people who come and play here.
They're
phenomenal.
my people.
Right.
I'm not
They're
competitive, but they are
genuinely
definitely my
wonderful to deal
people.
Okay,
They're,
I
they're
love
so
hanging out
easy
with
to deal
them.
with.
Just a bunch of game bros.
So that's my question: is like, what do you want this to be?
Right.
Like, that's what's the impression?
Is this
that
a game
you
or
get?
a sport?
Well, and what's the impression that you get? It seems like they've all got Peter Pan syndrome.
A little bit. I mean, I would like to bring attention to the fact that, like, games for a lot of us, right?
I think it's a sport.
That's great. I think it's a hobby. Like, I play
But
it as
see,
a hobby. That's
it
my
can be-
relaxation time. If I wanted to get serious about gaming, absolutely, I would play it as a sport.
Now,
But
here's
like,
the thing: it can be both. Like, you've got intramural
yeah,
softball.
you
and
can
things
hold
like that.
both as true,
Right.
right? It does not mean that that it doesn't mean that every player is going to have the mentality of having a very serious, like, mindset about it. You'll have the ones who are top competitors. Like, I've talked to a lot of the ones who are top in Washington State for Smash Ultimate, you know, and they are the most casual, chill people I have ever met. And usually they're the ones who are like, hey, come and play with us. I don't care if you're not that good. I think you'd enjoy it. And they're still spreading the love of the game instead of going, hey, I'm going to beat you up in this game.
Do you think like, that that's what's holding them back then? And I guess that's my question.
Is the lack of seriousness?
Yeah.
If that's the case, I kind of don't want them to get serious. Because, like, honestly.
So basically what you're going to, because if they don't, then the outcome of that is FaZe Clan, which is we're going to raise a bunch of money, we're going to take a bunch of cash, we're going to spend it, a few people are going to get rich and everybody else can get bent.
Okay. Like, I have a lot of reservations about FaZe Clan. Mm-hmm. I have seen a lot of different outcomes from, you know, interactions with them, interactions with the people that are around them, and everything else. And yes, I think it's cool that they've broken ground and become a publicly traded company. I think it's really neat that they're trying to do this and take esports seriously, but they're clearly not actually taking it seriously enough if they haven't come in with the structure that you guys are talking about anyways.
Yeah.
They haven't done their research. It's clearly a bunch of early 20s dudes just trying to make what they do, you know, a lucrative career. And unfortunately, they didn't have the forethought or the follow-through to make that happen. So either, right, mm-hmm. we can start leaning on some of the older gamers mm-hmm. who were competitive in their own right mm-hmm. and start bringing them in and going, hey, how do we structure this so that it's beneficial for everyone? Or we treat it like an art form that can be a hobby. Where you have a level of competitive scene and that's yes. Like, absolutely. I want there to be tournaments. I am super excited to have a Mario Kart tournament. I'm going to get my butt kicked, right? But at the end of the day, for me, in a tournament or anything like that, like, I was competitive in Overwatch. Mm-hmm. I was platinum for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And I stopped because it was just so toxic. I literally was just like, you know what? Screw everything about this. I uninstalled Blizzard, actually, for that reason. Mm-hmm.
A question about the FaZe thing.
Yes.
How do you increase your stock price by 50% without committing fraud?
Yeah, how do you do that?
The simple solution without committing securities fraud, they're going to have to publicly release some documentation showing...
Like a roadmap?
Basically, the roadmap of their revenue stream. They're going to have to release financial projections. They're going to have to explain.
So they're going to have to actually do work.
Yeah, and again, it's not simple work. And again, I've never met the guys from FaZe Clan personally. I'm tempted to agree with you where a lot of these things seem to be run by very young people
who have no worldly experience,
who don't have that, and probably push back against the people who they could bring in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who would give them the necessary experience to move it forward.
Well, I don't know if you remember being, you know, in your early 20s, but anytime somebody our age was just like, hey, you know what I would do because I've experienced this before, and you go, okay, yeah, old person, whatever, I'm going to do it anyways.
Yeah.
Like, and that's unfortunately a cycle we have as humans. But, and especially in the gaming world, you know, like, how do we harness that, you know, youth and passion that is in the esports, right? But also make sure that it is a sustainable place with a foundation.
It says, it's hard for an esports team as well. Imagine being young, passionate, totally aware you don't have a product. The only part of that statement I agree with is that they don't have a product.
Not merch.
It's not even that. I mean, you know, because I had this argument with somebody, and you can put the same thing on, like, literally, I talked to Banks about this, where they're like, people watch golf.
I do it to nap.
Sorry. You cannot tell me that esports doesn't have a product when the PGA broadcasts exist.
Okay, if esports didn't have a product, Twitch wouldn't really exist.
Love to see the store staff all play an FPS against each other. We might do that at some point. We'd have to get some stuff set up to do it, but yes, it would be pretty funny.
I do want to say, have you ever watched esports broadcasts? They, I would say, are the loudest and most enthusiastic fans, aside from football. But then you have a stadium of like 25,000 people. But these are like a room of like 2,000, 2,500 people, and it's deafening.
Yeah,
they are so into it.
Right.
And I think I don't know, like it could definitely grow, and I think it's. I don't know where I was going to go with that statement, but yeah.
Well, and I want to button hook on this actually because I don't know if anybody remembers when Overwatch League became a big thing, and I don't know if anybody else was as into it as I was, right? But seeing bars put Overwatch League up on their TVs during prime sports time. And having people get interested in it, like I legitimately had so many interesting and cool conversations with a lot of very much older folks who literally just do not get video games, right? Who would ask me questions, and like it actually brought the intrigue. And so there is absolutely a market for this.
Absolutely.
And there is absolutely the ability to not only, right, have that product, but also we would have some bandwidth in what generations actually got into it, you know? And we would absolutely have something that like a lot of the younger generations would be able to bond with the older generations about too, in a very interesting way.
I think that the overall market capability of esports outstrips any of the major sports leagues, period, full stop. Except for maybe soccer, European football. Like that's the only one that I don't think you're ever gonna beat.
I'm sorry, but nobody can make me like soccer.
I mean, and again,
I'm sorry.
It's not for everybody.
No.
It's not for everybody, but I'm saying just from a pure business perspective.
Yeah. There's that camaraderie. There's
a lot to it.
There's a lot.
The only one I don't think you can probably beat is soccer, but I really do think that esports, if done correctly, could legitimately...
It would be a worldwide thing.
Oh yeah, it would be huge. I think that there's a way to do it.
We would have to make sure that it was with games that we are not just at the whims of like the developers. And I'm not saying that in the developers are the enemy here. I am just saying like we would have to make sure that one, it's a game that's palatable to a massive amount of people.
Yeah.
Two, something that is just not like watching someone peek around a corner with a gun for the next 45 minutes.
And I think certain games, again,
it has to be interesting gameplay.
Like golf, I think that some people are going to be into some stuff and some are going to be others.
And that's great. But have you ever seen a Splatoon tournament?
No, I've seen a lot of Splatoon. It's a very fast and frenetic game, and it's very fun.
It is so colorful. It is so vibrant. And the people that do the shoutcasting for that are absolutely passionate about it, and is literally like one of the least offensive, most competitive games I have ever seen.
Yep.
It looks so fun. It plays so fun. And like their tournament scene is one of the most positive and interesting scenes ever. Yes, I've been saying that.
So somebody said, do they have two? I know that esports, especially with RTS, is huge in Korea.
Yes.
There was a joke that StarCraft 2 was the official sport of South Korea for a long time.
I didn't know that was a joke. I thought that was for real.
It's pretty much true. Yeah. Looking around the corner is great.
Sorry, Uru. You also like soccer, though. So.
I think that the market is there. I think all these guys are too laser focused on their own brands and their own shit to really build a big one.
Oh, it says here on the internet that you haven't liked or subscribed or hit the notification bell, and that if you don't, the IRS is going to punch you in the dink.